Over the past few decades, college athletics has gained a great amount of popularity across the United States, whether it be football, basketball, or hockey. Ever since the turn of the century, intercollegiate sports have brought in a surplus of revenue to their respective universities, as well as increasing the popularity of the college's reputation. So when watching sports and seeing people of your own age on the big screen, do you ever think about all the extra sacrifices they make for the game they love? Andy Gardner stated, from the start in 1906, the National Collegiate Athletic Association was created to protect young people from the dangerous and exploitive athletic practices of the time. It was established under President Roosevelt's term to provide rules and funding that were in the student athlete's best interest. By the mid-1950s, many students were being paid to play for the institution because they couldn't afford the cost of college. Because of the complications that this created, scholarships were established. However, one major proposed rule change that has been simmering just beneath the surface since basically the start of the program until recent years is whether or not these athletes should be paid. The reasons I believe college athletes should be paid is because they bring in a hefty amount of money for the athletic program or university. Another would be, even with the exception of scholarships, the expenses of college are not completely met, and paying college athletes will ensure that they complete college with a degree. The first reason is because the athletes bring in a massive amount of revenue for not only the program but the university itself. Colleges are using these athletes to boost the respective and reputations and bring in revenue while not compensating these athletes for their work. Everywhere else, athletes are paid. So why shouldn't college students too? Sean Gregory from ASC states between 2003 and 2012, annual football revenues for teams now in SEC jumped 91% to $759.9 million. Some critics argue that these student athletes are amateurs and if paid, then are becoming professional athletes. Defining college athletes as amateurs creates another problem in addition to not only being paid by the university. The NCAA states that student athletes shall be amateurs and should be protected from exploitations by professional and commercial enterprises. In 2000, due to the increasing cost of education, the NCAA approved student athletes' employment in jobs paying up to $2,000 during a school year. The income can address educational expenses, but we all know that $2,000 doesn't cover a whole lot. Another reason to pay college student athletes is because the expenses of college are high, and even with the scholarships, they have a hard time paying for everything that comes with this opportunity. The NCAA stated in an article, it is clear that in addition to their academic course loads, student athletes' physical conditioning, practice, and competition schedules make it difficult for many of them to take a part-time employment to supplement their institutional aid. With all the respect and publicity of these athletes, it goes unnoticed that a great deal of players live very near the poverty line. Due to this lack of money, black markets are created. Here, boosters that represent the university give these players cars, spending money, or anything they truly want, and in return, these players go to their respective university. Take Reggie Bush, for example. He is a running back at USC and now plays in the NFL. Bush was paid by boosters to attend USC, which violated NCAA rules. Bush was heavily criticized when violations were revealed and he had to return his Heisman Trophy. While Bush's actions were clearly wrong and him returning the Heisman Trophy was warranted, it's tough to give him much criticism. At the time, Bush didn't come from much wealth, and even with the full ride scholarship, he could not cover all of his expenses. Francis Wallace states, these universities that violate NCAA rules have an upper edge in recruiting top prospects. Schools are then tempted to violate these rules to even out the playing field. The last reason to pay these athletes is because it will ensure they graduate with a degree, thus bettering their life in the future. Paying these student athletes would provide an incentive to stay in school instead of leaving early for professional leagues. If athletes are paid to play, not only can they cover some of their college expenses that scholarships couldn't cover, but also now they will want to finish their education. NCAA prides itself on all student athletes are students first and athletes second. However, it seems that more popular athletes leave early for the pros. In college basketball, many freshman stars are referred to as one-and-done players as they complete 1 year of college and go to professional leagues early and want money because they need it as soon as possible. The importance of their education is lost. However, without paying these athletes, universities leave their students with no other option but to not graduate and withdraw after a semester or a year to meet their financial obligations. While it may seem odd or unjust to pay college athletes, the reality is that compensation of such athletes is a necessity not only to keep competition at a steady level in college athletics, but also to encourage students to graduate and get their college degrees. The truth of the matter is that many college athletes are already being paid under the table, which creates a black market that is not only illegal but is also unfair to universities that abide by NCAA regulations. Student athletes create a large window of income for their universities, so why not give back and ensure them a better future after their playing days?